Okay, DGP 103, back behind the mic. It's Steven and KP.
Howdy, we're back with another one. And we got a special one for you today. We got Stateside Gooners here. Welcome, Eric and Matt.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
So as a special episode today, I think we're going on both podcasts. So we'll give a quick introductions of ourselves. I am Steven. I've got my co-host here, KP. And they wanted us to share, Stateside wanted us to share, why did we become Arsenal fans? I feel like I got a pretty basic one for you guys. Let's go back. 2006. Young Steven goes and picks up a game of FIFA. He's scrolling through the teams. Arsenal looks pretty good. Let's check him out. They got this bald man on there. Looks like Thierry Henry. Kind of looks like my dad a little bit. I said, I think this is the team for me. This is it. Obviously, as you get older, you watch the team play, the beautiful ball, perfect. But honestly, it's one person, Thierry Henry. That's why I became a fan. How about you, KP? Oh, go ahead.
I gotta ask. So the EA Sports, as you're looking at the actual figures, you're going, that looks like my dad?
The game model of Thierry Henry. I think he might have been on the cover. Okay, honestly,
gotcha.
Let me pull it up. It might have been FIFA. I don't know
That's
if you guys
funny.
played FIFA.
That's
2006. Funny. I would have been about I would have been probably 11 years old at the time. So I think
I'm not gonna tell you how old I was. So.
I had it. We had a Wii. We had a Wii, Apple Wii, and I had the game. And it was the year that RVP and Adebayor were up top, and we played kind of more of like a 4-4-2. And every competition I dominated because those two guys could not stop scoring. So yeah, I love that game. I didn't play it that early though.
There we go. I just fact checked myself. 2004, FIFA 2004. Thierry Henry on the cover.
Nice.
There you go.
On the cover. That's right after all the trophies, I think. So well earned, dude. For me, Arsenal football, I mean, I've always been more fascinated by the tactical side of the game. I think probably because I wasn't the most athletic person myself, so I always tried to just understand the game more. And it was Arsene, actually, who kind of turned me into an Arsenal fan. I really loved his energy. I loved the battles with Ferguson. That's when I kind of started watching, and I just liked his French attitude. I've read his autobiography. I'm just a big fan. And to be honest with you, for a little bit, I did think the team was named after him.
Wow. Okay. That's awesome.
Okay.
What about you guys? I mean, obviously, welcome to the pod. We're super excited to have this season recap with you all. But tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, your podcast, sort of how you became Arsenal fans.
You want to go first, Matt?
Sure, I'll go first.
Your story sounds a little bit like Steven's.
Here's how I became an Arsenal fan. There's actually two parts to it. The first part was 1994 when the World Cup happened here. And my dad and we went to see the game here in D.C. It was Saudi Arabia and the Netherlands. And the Netherlands had Dennis on the team at that point in time. And I just loved watching him play. I loved watching the Dutch play, first of all, because that's one of the primary reasons for going. So I followed Dennis throughout that tournament, and I don't know if you remember his goal against Argentina in that tournament, but it was something special. So I decided I'm going to follow this guy, whoever he plays for in England, because you guys... You come from an era when you're able to see everything. You're able to access everything. At 1994, we didn't really have access to a lot. We're trying to look through papers, trying to find scores, right, Eric? I mean, that's
remember newspapers?
Yes, right, newspapers, print. So I didn't actually know he transferred to Arsenal 96. So that's when I started to follow the Arsenal in earnest. But 2005 is the big one, following the Champions League run, and a young right back, well, he was a midfielder at the time, but they played him at right back for Champions League. Flamini, I don't know if you remember the French kid, but he was playing right back, out of position, and he was so good in that whole run. So, yeah, that run especially that was what cemented it for me.
That's a fun story, man. Is the Bergkamp goal the one where it's like over the top and he settles it? It's one of those where he settles it super high up, or no?
2 touches. He brings it down with his right foot and then slams it home with his right foot, curling it around the Argentina goalie. And I want to say it's the quarterfinals of the World Cup, but I'm not positive. It's really tremendous. You look it up. And it's one of the rare times that he decided to fly, because, he doesn't like to fly. He came over here to America, so hey.
That's fun.
I guess it's the World Cup.
Eric, try to match that.
Matt and I are older than you guys by quite a bit, so I was at soccer camp, a camp in Pennsylvania that's pretty well known in the area that Matt and I grew up, and it was primarily a wrestling camp, but they had a few years where they brought some English coaches over in the early 80s to maybe 90s, early 90s, and the year I went, 82, 83, 84, they counted everybody off by 4s, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you got put onto one of 4 teams. And if you think about the late 70s, early 80s, the big teams were Liverpool, Leeds, Nottingham Forest, and Arsenal. And so I got stuck, finger quotes, stuck on the Arsenal team, and ever since then I've been an Arsenal fan. So it's pretty easy that way, but like Matt said, I couldn't follow, through the 80s, through most of the 90s, and there were a lot of good years in those years. I mean, we won in 89, we won in 91, we won a cup in the 90s. Of course, the 90s then, nobody won a European Cup because England teams couldn't go. So, it got weird, but, or end of the 80s, I guess that was, but yeah. Yep.
Wow. Yeah. You guys have definitely seen more trophies than us. That I am sure of.
That's the truth. I like how it's as simple as that. Some of our stories, it's as simple as that. Like, 1, 2, 3, 4, Arsenal, and for life. Here I am on a podcast talking about Arsenal.
Yeah, could have been Liverpool.
Could have been. That would have been unfortunate. But we're happy. We're happy you picked Arsenal. We're happy you're here today. I think we're going to spend the majority of the pod talking about the season that was for the men's side. But first, we absolutely have to start with the way Arsenal women ended their campaign, lifting the Champions League trophy. How do you guys feel about that? I know that you guys try to cover the women a lot. Did you catch that game?
Oh gosh, did we catch that game? You bet. It just for your listeners' awareness, it's all of the Champions League stuff is on an app called DAZN, DAZN, so you can always watch all of the women's Champions League games there. But boy, what a run by the women through the Champions League, quarterfinals, semifinals, and then to beat this team in the final, tremendous.
They played the most games of any team that won the Champions League. They started in the qualifying rounds.
And had to do
comeback games from the qualifying rounds. They needed to beat Bayern Munich to win the
group stage.
The group stage, so that they could move on. And then they were behind against Real Madrid. Then they were behind against Lyon. So I mean, the run they had included a lot of challenges. And Renee Slagers, man, she's the woman. She got them through it.
Yeah, are you surprised that she's not maybe getting the recognition that she deserves? That's how I feel from an outsider kind of watching it. I feel like the coverage of it could be a lot more.
Well, I would say the coverage of the women's game could be a lot more in general, but I would also say that she, in kind of following her progression this season, as she was, took over for Jonas back in November-ish, and then started to lead the team, she's an incredibly humble person. She always defers to the players, even when she talks about preparing game plans. I mean, and strategy, she's always deferred to the players and pushes everything off of herself. She's not Jose Mourinho.
She doesn't lead. She doesn't lead from in front, and she doesn't lead from behind. It's almost like she leads beside her staff and the players, and she doesn't say, this is how we're going to do it. She says, how do you think we should do it? And then from listening to everybody, she develops a plan. and then they execute the plan. So the plan to defeat Barcelona had a lot to do with being in a 4-2-3-1, but the wingers on both sides dropping back. So it was almost like a 4-4-2 or a 4-5-1 because we saw, who's our number 10, Matt?
Little? Kim Little?
No.
You're talking about the real 10, Russo.
Anyway, she dropped back and really kind of played it as a 4-5-1. And so it really allowed their wings to be, the Barcelona wings to be sort of held in check. And that's what really won it, because they scored 10 in 2 games against Wolfsburg. They scored 8 against the English champions Chelsea, who we can't often score against. And we held them to 0. So that strategy the players came up with her.
Yeah, it does seem like the team has been really behind her since she got named the interim, as well as when she officially became the coach. I mean, I know she had a huge start as soon as she took over. I think she went on like a 13-14 unbeaten run. So really, really impressive what she's done for the women's team. And it's really impressive the stuff that the club has been doing on the women's side. I do feel like Arsenal are on the front foot when it comes to trying to elevate the women's game. So there's a huge shout out there for the club. And expectations were high for the women's team going into the year. So it was really interesting when they decided to let go of the manager and make that change. It's not something you really associate with Arsenal, a mid-season manager change. So it's kind of interesting. I know obviously we're going to talk a lot about the men. There's a huge argument there about what do you do? Do you bring in a new manager to deliver trophies? So maybe I'll just put a lid on that and see where Steven wants to take the conversation.
I think it's time. It's time. Let's jump into it. Season recap time. Second place yet again. It's a three-peat. It's a three-peat in second place. We've done it again. You'll never sing that. We had a discussion before this, and was it a success? Is it progress? Are we just looking at surviving this season? I think they're all pretty good points, and you can come from any direction. I think you can have a solid opinion about it, and I will start with you, Eric. What's your take on the second place finish?
I think it's better than the alternatives. You know, when I look at Man United and how far they've fallen, and Tottenham and how far they've fallen, and yes, they squeaked their way through and they won a trophy in the second season because he always wins a trophy in the second season, but a bit lucky to get that. So it's better than finishing 8th or 5th. Well, 5th this year, would have been it, but we've been in that role where we didn't get where we wanted. We were one below where we wanted, and it was terrible. So advancing to the Champions League semifinal, we're a stronger team than maybe we thought we were at the beginning of the season. Getting to that point, even though Arteta won't say it out loud, losing this title, or at least being closer to the title, falling away 10 points away, a lot of that had to do with injuries, and he'll never say it in that way. We didn't win because we had injuries, but we all kind of know. Everybody listening to this, everybody who likes Arsenal knows. The third thing is those injuries were a positive in some ways because they gave us insights into the players that we maybe wouldn't have known about. So when you look at Waneri, Miles Lewis-Skelly, Timber got to play way more than he would have and showed that he's really good, and he locked down some of the best players in the world on his side. And Wooly, he can score goals, man. Wherever he is, he's going to be able to score those goals, whether he's playing 6 or 8 or up top, which hopefully he never does again. But we learned a lot of things about people we didn't necessarily know.
All right, for our listeners, who is Wooly?
That's a great point.
Sorry, guys.
Mikel Merino, right? Mikel Merino, and we go merino wool, and so we call him Wooly.
Okay.
I thought it was William Saliba, and then you said he's been scoring, and I was like, that can't be him.
No. That's a great point. Our listeners will know who Wooly is, but yeah, that's a great point. We call Merino Wooly because merino wool, so we gave him that nickname, and it stuck amongst ourselves and our listeners. So yeah.
That's fun, man. That's fun. I mean, I think I agree with a lot of the points that you made. I do hear you. And I do feel like Mikel was a little more outspoken than usual throughout the season. I mean, especially with the way that January window went, he was out there saying we have a very small squad. And it might not have felt like it, but we ended up with it. I am wondering sort of, what were your guys' expectations going into the season, and sort of how far did the team fall off of those? I think for the Champions League, for example, I really only expected us to advance through the quarterfinals, right? So I think we really exceeded that expectation. The rest of it, I think domestically, I was disappointed with our performances. I wouldn't put progress on our domestic cup performances at all, for example.
I'll just finish up my thoughts here real quick, Matt, and then I'll go to you. But for my part, Stateside Gooners, I thought that we would, and this is Eric speaking, but I thought that we would win the league. 100% we're going to win the league, because we had not lost to a top 6 team in a long time, and guess what? We still haven't. And the only thing that we didn't do this year that we really was the one thing we needed to improve on was not lose to lower league sides, or not draw lower league sides. And so it was a huge disappointment, because we had so many opportunities. Take away the 6 red cards and exclude that. We had opportunities not to make those things happen, but we had so many opportunities to win games that we lost, draw games that we lost, or win games that we drew, and we didn't. And so for me, some of that falls on the manager. Some of that falls on the strategy. Some of that falls on being too defensive and not stretching ourselves to score more goals. I was disappointed. 10 points behind. It's just too far.
Yeah, 10 points behind, and it never really felt like we were in it, even come December, January, right?
That's exactly where I sit, Gabe. So for the last 3 seasons, we have not had that closing in the league. So we haven't really had that second half of the season that is just unstoppable. And that's the part that is challenging to me, because it's like, when do we get there? When do we get to that point where we are the Terminator and we're going to win every single game like clockwork in the second half of the season, to put pressure on those in front of us, pressure on those behind us to keep up? And I want to start seeing that build up in the league. But yes, completely disappointed in the league performance this year. Really thought we would compete for the top spot. I wouldn't call this a competitive league season at all for anybody, because Liverpool just ran away with it. But yes, very happy with the Champions League. They gave me some incredible moments of complete and utter joy in that quarterfinal. Even some of the semifinal was exciting.
Yeah, I hear you on it, man. I really do. And I mean, I feel like if I were to sum up this season, for me, it was just I felt like we were on this huge, long road that was filled with speed bumps, and it also had a stop sign at every single intersection. And we just could never get above 40 miles an hour. We could never take the exit to the highway, right? That's just how the season went for me.
I think that's absolutely correct. I remember last season when we bought Havertz, and a lot of folks were like, we're not clicking. That was the thing. Our offense, we're just not clicking yet. It never clicked this season at all for me. We never got that click. Finishing second through all of the bad events that happened, I am dumbfounded that no one surpassed us. I think you need to look at the rest of the league, like we like to say on our pod. Where are you at? The other people that like to banter us, like the other clubs, well, where are you at? The red cards, the injuries, making fun of us for coming second again. You guys could do better as well. We've been out of the race for months. Where are you at? I think this is, of all the third places, I don't really feel heartbroken about this one. I feel very indifferent. I feel very differently going into next season, though. I think the seat is getting a little bit hotter compared to these other two next season is very, very critical, very crucial.
Yeah, and that's such a good point, Steven. I do feel like the place where we've had the most progress this season is on social media. I feel like we used to be such a banter club, getting tied into all the sort of lower league relegation conversations and jokes like that. And this year, I feel like Arsenal is trending every time someone else wins a trophy. And it just shows like how big we are and how much like rent free we're in all these people's heads, because as soon as someone else gets a trophy, we're actually the club everyone's talking about. So I do feel like people feel a little bit more threatened from us, by us, than in the past.
I like the living rent free in other people's heads.
That's where we are, man. But I can't call it big progress. I can't call it a big success. Obviously, I do feel like it was mostly survival the way this season went. We're gonna have a long chat about the manager and some of these season thoughts. I feel like tie into that more, so I'm gonna hold those back and start out our annual tradition of handing out some season awards. We appreciate you all playing along with us. We tried this out last season and had some fun with it. So we'll start out with the obvious, just the player of the season for Arsenal. We can go around and share. I can start us off by saying, for me, Big Gabby was the player of the season for Arsenal. When I think about player of the season, I just think the person who played at his highest level the most consistently. And I think from start to finish, it was Big Gabby. If he doesn't get injured, I think he scores against PSG. He loves scoring in the big moments. And when I reflect on the season, I feel like he really showed up when we needed him against Tottenham. I remember him dunking on Romero against Manchester City. I remember him dunking on Kyle Walker. Against Sporting, he brought out the Batman. So I just think I really felt Big Gabby's vibes this season. And for me, he personified sort of what I want to see from an Arsenal player. So therefore, he's my player of the season.
That's awesome dunking.
Nice.
I think that's a really good shout, but it's not from start to finish because he didn't finish.
Heard.
I think he would have been the player of the season. He was my vote until the injury happened. So with the injury, I'm going David Raya. Consistent penalty saves this season. Had him in the locker. Couple double save moments. We got to think of the Villa one. Had that Manchester United double save. Bruno Fernandes had him dead to rights. Double save on that. I think at the end of the season is the only time you could say, hey, he wasn't on his top level. But when the game was gone, the season's gone at that point, I don't really put too much on him. So David Raya is my player of the season.
Well, for me, this season is a weird one in that you're doing it by process of elimination. It's not necessarily, hey, this player really stood out, right? It's not, there isn't that, this is the player that really did well. So it's always this, well, no, he didn't play the whole season. No, didn't play, only played half. So, I mean, you can't count Rice because his first half of the season's not really that great. If it was a second half award, he'd get it for sure. So I'm throwing in my vote for Big Willie, William Saliba, just because he was consistently there and he was consistently good throughout. I know he missed Big Gabby towards the end of the year, but I'm going to go with Big Willie. Aside from that one small thing in the Champions League.
Or two?
Well, the second one, he was kind of bored. He wanted to make it close.
I don't think we lost that game, did we? I don't remember. Second one.
No, we did not.
The league game. I have to agree with Steven. It's Raya. When I think about the goals that Gabby scored and the saves maybe that Raya made and anybody else who got us points in the league or kept us in games with a goal or an assist, nobody stood out as much as Raya getting us points or getting us wins from even towards the end of the season. I mean, if you look at it, he kind of was really good at the beginning and made some really crazy saves at the end with maybe a little bit of a dip in the middle, but his dip was very minor in the middle. We didn't lose games because of Raya, and in past years we did. He got chipped from the left wing when Saka didn't pass it back hard enough, kind of left him a hospital ball, and weird things where he was in the wrong spot. None of that happened for me this year, and so he's got to be the player of the season. He won us so many points based on his crazy saves.
I think that summarizes our season as well. That 2 of the 4 of us are voting for the goalkeeper. I think that describes our season.
And the other 2 are central defenders. Just want to point that out, guys.
Yeah.
We were talking about Saka, though, at the beginning of the season. Is he going to break the assist record? Right? And so he doesn't get hurt. Maybe he does. Maybe. And then what would have been if in the last 3 weeks of the season, those games, 3 or 4 games at the end of the season where Odegaard was playing really well, what if we had that Odegaard all but how many times have we said what if since Arteta came in? So
Yeah, what could have been is a great season recap title, I think, for this one that we just all lived through. And I'm a little surprised you went with William Saliba, Matt. Mostly because I hear you on his consistent playing level, but I thought by his own standards, he did not have a good season. Just like overall, I felt like there were times where he was late to tackles. I remember a couple of goals that he was just late to tackles on. Obviously, he struggled on the ball a lot more this year than we've seen in the past. He had a few giveaways. But yeah, like he did play the most minutes, so I do hear you. And he did his best. I mean, I think it's just over the last 2 seasons, I've been so spoiled by him that when I watch this one, I don't even rank it sort of that high within his own standards.
he might have been a 9 out of 10 last year and the year before. And this year you just go by that standard. How did he do against himself? I hear you saying, and he's more like against his own scale. He was a 7.
Sure.
7.5.
I think it's a good number.
Yeah.
But I also think that clearly demonstrates where the level is right now at Arsenal for this season. It was just such an odd season. Picking someone like that is legitimate for this.
Yep.
For this, it's odd. It's just a very weird season.
It was filled with surprises, which I think is a good segue for our next award, your surprise of the season. Who wants to start us off?
I'll jump in on this one. I just found out his nickname is Wooly. I gotta mention Wooly here on the pod. Mikel Merino ending the season as the number 9, 7 Premier League goals, and we were all happy with it. That is my surprise of the season. Wanting him to be the number 9 for the last 3 months of the season, and when he wasn't the number 9, really missing him up front. You cannot tell me from the beginning of the season we're going to be ending the season with Mikel Merino still finishing second place and in a Champions League semifinal. Wouldn't believe it, so that is my surprise of the season. And I'll throw it over to you, Eric.
Well, Wooly was, I can't even believe that some of the goals he scored. I mean, he scored some really high quality goals, so I can see how you would choose him. I think for me, Miles Lewis-Skelly was a complete surprise because we have a dearth of left backs. There was one game I think we started 5 left backs, 3 in the, maybe it was 4, 3 in the back and 1 in midfield and 1 as a left wing maybe, I can't recall, but it was a lot of left backs, and he came out as the best left back as an 18-year-old, the most composed, the strongest maybe at 18 years old. I can't even believe that I'm saying it, that, you know, this kid coming out of the academy who started the season on the bench is the surprise of the season, but for me, absolutely.
Yeah, the kid who got a yellow card before he stepped foot on the pitch, right?
That's right.
Unbelievable.
Right. Before his first minute.
So I don't know how you guys felt about Timber coming into this season, but I certainly ACL, getting healed, playing. I did not expect him to have this kind of a season that he had. I didn't expect him to play as many minutes. I certainly didn't expect him to play as well as we saw. So I'm very excited for the future. So he's my surprise, largely because being able to play all of those minutes, number one, and then to play those at such a high level. Very excited for him for the future.
That's a really good shout. You know, before the start of every season on DGP, we like to call out one to watch, and we each pick one heading into the season. And Steven had Timber this year. I was on the TP5 train trying to swim against the current, but I think Steven really feels your shout for Timber.
Absolutely surprised. I mean, he was a huge surprise. Ben White goes down. I think there's such a we rely on that right side so much, and Ben White's a huge part of it. I think that was going to be a huge. It was a huge talking point at the time. Ends up being basically, I would say, the most consistent player. I wouldn't even blame you if you threw him in for player of the season, to be honest. Timber, he was so consistent. He's going to give you that 7 every game. He's going to lock down that guy. I think number 7 on PSG, Kvaratskhelia, was the only guy that I can really remember giving him trouble.
And only for the first 20 minutes. After that,
Agreed.
he got his
Thank you.
He got his stuff together.
He maybe should have been red carded for a couple of fouls he had on
Well, okay.
penalty,
Right.
maybe penalty kick on one of those. But yeah, really good shout out.
I hear you. On an honorable mention for player of the season, definitely he's up there. The minutes that he played, big surprise. I hear you on that too. My surprise of the season was Kieran Tierney, because going into it, I just thought he would play 0 minutes. And I can't be more surprised by the way that he ended his Arsenal career. I think having that goal on the final day, he looked so happy. I haven't seen a player celebrate the way he did. It just literally looked like a kid who just scored for his favorite club. And I really appreciate it. I was also surprised to see a little bit of a sentimental side from Mikel Arteta. Not something that I get to see that often. So big surprise for me was Kieran Tierney.
Gotta say, it's outside back FC. We got three outside backs on here. I think I got a question just based on Miles Lewis-Skelly. Just bought Calafiori this season for a decent amount of money. Heading into the first game next season, do you guys expect Richie to be on the field or Lewis-Skelly to be starting at left back?
I think Lewis-Skelly moves into the midfield.
You do?
If there's an opportunity, I think he moves into the midfield. I think that's kind of the place that he's supposed to be. I don't know who he supplants.
Yeah, right? I mean, you're looking at Odegaard, TP5, Declan Rice, Mikel Merino, Zubimendi. Havertz likes to put in a shift there. So it's going to be very hard for him to get into the midfield. I do feel like, based on how the season ended, Lewis-Skelly currently owns the shirt for the left back spot, so I would like to see him start personally.
Yeah, and I don't think we know what we have in Ricky yet. When he's come into games, I really do enjoy the chaos that he brings with him and introduces to that left back spot. His goal against Man City is the perfect example of that. I did not expect that at all. That was very much a surprise. So I'm interested to see what he can bring to that left side. So, yeah, I'd like to see Skelly move up to the midfield just so we can see what Ricky can bring. Of course, you've got to stay healthy, which it's an Arsenal player. I don't know.
Ricky just turned 22 years old. Like last week, this week, he just turned 22. He comes across as much older than that, but he's got a lot to learn. And so I think everybody else goes away at left back, and it's going to be between those two, between Ricky and Miles. And I think they're both going to give us something different. I think when we look at the right wing, who's going to be the starter? Because we could have the same question. Ben is so good with Odegaard and Saka, and Timber was not bad. He's but more of a lockdown right back, not as creative. So I don't know. They bring something different, Miles Lewis-Skelly and Ricky, and I like when you think about Saliba, one of his first games for us, he blasts that left-footed
Oh yeah.
goal, and then you get Ricky, and Saliba's right-footed. You get Ricky, and he blasts a right-footed goal, and he's left-footed in his first game. And it just was incredible, and I wonder what's going to happen to him. I think you're right. MLS starts the season.
I'm loving the Ricky chat because from the surprise, we have to move on to the underachiever of this season, and I awarded it to Richie Calafiori. I felt like he really underachieved given my expectations. When we signed him, I think he was right after the Euros. He had the incredible Euros, really showing out for Italy. And he did have a decent start, but he couldn't stay on the pitch. And at the same time, he basically got replaced by this kid from the academy. So I felt like he was one of the players who really underachieved this season. Do you share that sentiment?
Yeah, I definitely share that. But I don't think we've seen enough of him. And he would. You talked about the stoplights and stop signs for Arsenal season. Gosh, his was exactly like that. Every time he'd go away for international duty, he'd come back. Something was wrong, and then he'd have to get reintegrated back into the team. I can't recall exactly when we got him either in the summer window, but it seemed late. So he didn't really have a proper introduction to camp and the team. So it's incomplete as far as I'm concerned for him. I do want to see more from him. But yeah, it is underwhelming. I don't. Is it part of it is the price tag that we laid out for him, or because you spend, I want to say, what was it, 35 on him? Mm-hmm. You expect a certain performance out of that, and we didn't get it.
A little bit. I mean, the price tag isn't really that top of mind for me. Okay. Honestly, I mean, how much do we get Timber for? Like 50?
Yeah. So, like that.
So I think an outside back, a good outside back in that 30 to 50 range, that's like the going price these days, right? We're used to seeing 30, 50 for strikers, but that's just how much the market has fluctuated. So the price tag doesn't really make a big difference for me. I just think the Euros, the performances he had, the moments that he also showed us in an Arsenal shirt, but also defensively. At times, he has a lot to learn still. There were a couple of times where one-on-one, he really got exposed. And haven't seen that from Maslow Skelly at all.
Ricky, I don't want to forget that when Maslow Skelly took his spot, MLS was 18 and Ricky was only 21. So there's not a huge age difference between them. Maslow Skelly would sell today for a lot more than we bought Ricky for. Only because of what he's shown, right? And that strength that he has in that relatively small body. But Ricky, I think, has a lot to bring. And I can't disagree with him being an underachiever, in that regard. I went with someone else, but I can see your point.
Yeah, who was your player?
Odegaard. I know he was out for, 13 or 15 games. But he's the captain. And he's supposed to lead the team with his voice, with his effort, and I didn't see that. In fact, Matt and I talked about my opinion that he shouldn't be the captain next year. I think it's too much for him to take on being the captain and trying to be a productive offensive force on the field, on the pitch. He showed us some of it last game, but last year and this year, he was not as good as he was 3 full seasons ago when he scored, 15 goals or something. I mean, that's who he is. He can score 15 goals, 15 assists, and we haven't seen enough of that. So he's got to be my underachiever just based on when he was on the pitch. He wasn't doing it for me.
Yeah, Odegaard, I think he's been a huge talking point throughout the season, right? The captaincy, we can get into that certainly. But I mean, he ended the season with 8 assists and 3 goals in the Premier League. So I mean, on the assist bracket, not terrible. A lot of them also not his fault. People just weren't converting the chances that he was creating. So it's kind of hard to judge him based on that. But I think with Odegaard, the underachiever aspect of it just comes down to your own expectations a lot.
Yeah, so for me, Martinelli was the underachiever for this season.
Say more. Martinelli Hive, hide your ears.
I expected so... And I guess maybe that comes down to my expectations as well. I expected him to have just an absolute monster season, but I continue to think that every single year. It's like, Lucy with the football, Charlie Brown. I do feel that there's so much more there, and you see it in certain glimpses in certain games, but he just can't do it consistently. So that's when I look at him, that's the disappointing side. Because we all know what he's going to do. He's going to try to round that end on the left side, square up his body, and try to hit the far post. We know this. Why doesn't he try some additional variety in that particular finish? I know it works for Thierry Henry all the time, but that's Thierry Henry. That's a different player. I'd like to see him have some variety in his shots.
Mr. Predictable.
Yes.
Well, you know what? And this club has become Mr. Predictable. I mean, for a while we were set piece FC, but we're so predictable to me. We did an episode earlier in the season where we talked about different strategies, option B, option C, option D, and we had so many different ways we could beat clubs, and we ended up not doing it because we had the same strategy, that little umbrella going around left side, right side, and Ola Aina talked about how we were harder to defend than Ola Aina from Nottingham Forest. We were harder to defend than Manchester City, than the Sinners, because we did that sort of movement, but we probed in and out as well. And we didn't do enough of that probing into the box, out of the box, left, right, into the box, out. We didn't do enough of that, and that's why we didn't score.
I like that. I think Martinelli's a great shout. We like to say here, I mean, what you said was almost, spot on, Matt. You have these expectations for him. You wish the best for him. You think it's going to happen. This is it. And then it doesn't. So we've the second part of this season, we're we need to change our brains. How do we actually think about Martinelli? This is who he is. I think I'm coming to terms. This is the player that he is.
You think this is the best version of him?
I agree.
You don't think there's more?
In a row. 2 seasons in a row. The way that we play. If he goes to another team and they're going to play counterattacking football, I think he can excel. But if we're going to ask him to play this way, I think that's why we need to move in a new direction on the left wing.
Yeah, and he gets away with missing during really big moments. Some of the chances that fall to him that you really want him to finish are game deciders. There was the Brighton game where it was 1-1. We were down to 10 men and he was through. And I remember him missing the chance and thinking, he scores that, we win that game. The whole season could be different. He has a lot of those moments where he ends up in front of the goal, and this is it. You really need a goal, and he doesn't score, but then he's always going to score the one to make it 5-1, breaking on the counter. I could care less about that one.
To me, he feels a lot like Theo Walcott in that we had so much hope for Theo Walcott, and he scored a lot of goals, but not the kind of goals that we wanted him to score. Is exactly what I think about Martinelli, what you're saying. He's very Theo Walcott. You're very tactical, KP, and the style of play that Arsenal play is juego, right? Juego de posición, and it's basically they stole it from some Spanish teams and from Pep Guardiola, and it takes a long time to get 6 months at least. You look at every player we sign, it's 6 months before they come good, start playing well in that system. Martinelli's been playing that system for the whole 5 years that I've been here. And he really should be locked in, and he's not.
Yeah. Steven, did you have an underachiever?
I did. I think yours are way more interesting than mine, because mine is leaving. Thank goodness. Raheem Sterling underachieved completely. I was so optimistic about this. Thought he could come in off the bench, be that player that gives you 30 minutes, gives you a good shift. I mean, that just didn't happen. It was a complete flop of a signing. Our loan signings this season, terrible. So Raheem Sterling absolutely underachieved, and I wonder what's going to happen in his career moving forward. To be honest, I don't see what's going to happen for him.
I think he's coming here.
Yeah. What do you think, DC United?
Yeah. Let's hope not, shall we? No.
Oh, that's funny, man. I think that's fair. Underachiever for Raheem is all fair game. The best part about it is that we didn't pay his wages, I guess, right? So we'll take that win. So let's go from underachiever to overachiever. I think for me, I picked Maslow Skelly as the overachiever of the season. He could have gone in the surprise category for sure, but just for the sake of conversation, I felt like he absolutely overachieved. I mean, for his age, for the amount of games that he played, for the coming out of the summer tour, everyone's eyes were on Ethan Nwaneri, and this kid just absolutely stole the show. He overachieved so much that as soon as the season ended, you saw the Real Madrid links hit the timeline. So there's a huge credit to him.
I like that. I'm going the other outside back, Urian Timber. I think he was my overachiever. From the knee injury to this season, the amount of games that he played, the consistency. I think he started the season at left back, right? He's playing out on the left. Ends up basically holding down the right back spot. Just didn't expect him to play as much as he did and as well. So my one to watch, Urian Timber.
That's a great shout out, Stephen. I do said it earlier in this. Yeah, I think the world of him. I think he is gonna lock down that right back spot. But then what do we do with Ben? That's good problems to have. Trust me.
Maybe we can rotate. I mean, that's a crazy idea, but I'll save that. I'll save that for the manager chat.
What's rotate?
Eric, did you have your...
I don't have a whole lot to say about it. I wasn't going to pick anybody, but I guess Thomas, maybe, because he's been injured so much and he had a full season where he was really very consistent against his own standards and could do what we needed. I mean, I think part of the reason maybe I'm picking him is we saw very little of Jorginho.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on Thomas. That's my pick for the overachiever, just because. Where did that season come from, guys? Seriously, he was really, really good.
It's a contract year.
Unless we were playing him at right back, in which case he was very, very bad.
Was he?
But,
was he bad at outside back? Okay.
Yes. He's not
question.
somebody who would defend. But I think we did that outside back to the manager's credit at certain times when there was no real true offensive threat on that side. So yeah, he was there more for possession.
No, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, our next award is Unsung Hero, and I have to just bring it there because TP fucking 5 is my one to watch going into the season. You were hearing chatter that his legs are gone. He should never play for Arsenal. The day we announced the signing of Mikel Merino, the entire fan base changed. The three midfielders, like, this is it. It's going to be Rice, Merino, Odegaard. Forget about TP5. And he was absolutely incredible throughout the season. He made the most tackles as well as had the most interceptions for Arsenal. I think that we saw without him against PSG, we struggled. The midfield was wide open, and some of the games that he played that right back, we saw, again, what we were missing in the middle. So TP5, Unsung Hero, extension talks, ongoing. That'll be for another pod, but I'm really happy with his performance.
That's a great shout. He might be going to Barcelona.
Really?
He played that well, and they love a free transfer. I know that's another conversation, but yeah, that's a good shout.
That is. I think the best version of this Arsenal team has Thomas Partey in the 6, without a doubt. It is what it is. Like, I don't think you can say it another way. Even when he went to right back, it was such a detriment to the team. That PSG game, first leg, I think if he's in the squad, we may have a different outcome. I'm a believer in that.
I'll take you back to the end of the Real Madrid game. What's he getting the card for?
Ooh, I was hammering him for that, Matt. Oof, okay, I was hammering him for that.
He knows better.
Upset with
he
that.
knows
Yeah.
better.
Oh, yeah.
I understand the testosterone starts firing and you want to defend your players, but
yeah, but
there was a
guys. Different camera angle that came out like days after the Real Madrid game that showed exactly what had happened, and it was a little overblown, the card. But I hear you on it.
Don't give him the opportunity to give you the card, because they will do it.
I was firmly on the Rice, Woolley, Odegaard train. Don't play Thomas ever again. He's hurt. You know, he should be the guy that comes in when we play Leicester. So how wrong was I?
It happens, right? That's the podcasting business, man. You tell me who your unsung hero was. How about that?
Steven, why don't you go first? Because I'm agreeing with you on this one.
Okay, that's fine. I'm going to take Kiwior 2 years in a row. 2 years in a row for this man. I mean, you can't want any more from him for what he did. He comes in, the fan base was in the absolute mud. Didn't want it. Not Kiwior. Well, we can put Timber there. We could put Ben White. We can move this. We can do all these other things. Arteta said, no, Kiwior, you're my guy. Puts him in. I mean, I think he had a shaky moment in his first game. I think the Real Madrid game, he had one shaky moment within like the first 5 minutes. I honestly think he was the best center back going to finish the season. Saliba obviously got hurt, had his issues, but I mean, Kiwior, you can't ask for more from him. I don't think he's going to be sold this summer. I think he's going to be sticking around. That's what I believe.
We bought him to be the backup left back for Gabby, and he didn't have a lot of opportunities to play that. But I'll tell you what, nobody expected him to play well last season as the left back. And he played well for, 15 consecutive games. And he did the same thing this season at left center back. When he needed to, he played the position we bought him for, and he was excellent. Matt? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really liked what he was able to contribute. And very much like you all, I did not think he was going to put in that kind of a shift to end the season. Very nervous, especially after that first 5 minutes against Real Madrid. I thought, oh, crap. He really isn't ready. And then he just settled in. And he does have quite a magical left foot. He can do some things that Gabby can't. Mm-hmm. Drop that ball in over the top. That was pretty sweet. Got to see that a little bit. That's a good shout out.
I hope if we sell him, because we bought him for, I think, 25. If we sell him, he's got to be 50. He's got to be at least 50, and that'll give us money to move somewhere else. I know that's for a different podcast, but we can't sell him for what we thought we'd sell him for mid-season if we do. I hope we don't move him on.
So are you guys open to selling him? From my point of view, he's always available. I wouldn't. I think he's a good squad player to have. But would you be open, if the price is right, you would be willing to move on?
If he was 40 or 50, we've paid to get Timber, if we could get 50 for him like we paid for Timber, then absolutely I'd sell him, because there's somebody who can do a backup Gabriel job in the 5 to 10 games we need him in some cup games and things like that. That's going to cost half of that or less. Okay. And then we've got money to use, because wouldn't it be great if we had a lot of money to use from sales? That's a whole conversation that we're going to have in a few minutes. But I mean, a lot of times we didn't make good sales, so it'd be nice to have somebody that we got a little in for.
Sales are definitely something to watch for with the new regime, so we'll be paying attention to that, absolutely. Matt, did you have an unsung hero?
I did not have an unsung hero in this season, just as it's very difficult for me to pick one out. I think the shout outs that you guys have had are probably, I'd throw my hat in those rings as well.
Okay, all good. Sounds great. I think we just have 2 more categories to get through. So thanks to everyone for sticking around before we get into the nitty-gritty of the manager chat. We like to hand out a Mr. Anonymous trophy at the end of the season. You know, the player who just didn't show up, maybe didn't live up to your expectations. More of a fun one. Don't have a lot of commentary on it. For me, the Mr. Anonymous of the 24-25 season is Takahiro Tamiyasu.
Who? Congratulations.
Who's that?
Congratulations.
He was my one to watch last season, and I thought he had a really strong end to the season, and didn't see him at all this season. It was to the point where I was legitimately worried about his health. I was like, where is this guy? Is he okay? Just show me his body so I know he's okay.
And let's see what his hair looks like. Yes. Yeah, right. You're right. 6 minutes. That's it. That's the extent of his season.
That's crazy.
That's
100,000 a week or
shout-out.
90,000 a week every week for 52 weeks, and we got 6 minutes. That's a lot of money per minute. I do hope his health is okay, that he's mentally in good shape.
Yeah, now imagine that if we had to pay Sterling's fees on top of that. So, I mean, that's good business from the club, man. Did you guys have any anonymous players to call out or no?
I think you already talked about Sterling, so who?
Yeah, right. Those are the...
Well, I do think if I were to throw one more anonymous out there, it has to be Zinchenko, because what happened to him this season? Can anyone explain, like, what happened?
He's slower than me.
You think so? You think it's just a pace factor?
I think that has a lot to do with it. He would be a great number 8 to replace Waneri when we need a third backup. Right? So Odegaard, Waneri, and then him. That's about it. I don't see him fitting in anywhere else. And that's kind of one of the things that he did when we needed him a couple of times.
Well,
Yeah.
the fun part about Zinke is he could change the game, and he doesn't necessarily have that capacity or capability now to do that. And I don't know if that's a reflection on the progress that the team has made overall. So the floor of our playing style has been raised to the point where his chaos and his introduction into the game doesn't sway the game as much as it used to. And
Wow.
that's probably it, but who knows?
No, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, he was basically above our team for one full season, like, technically. That's what you're suggesting, right? And, I mean, I think that's fair. It's one of those weird signings that when you reflect on, I think the first season we got him was great, and now you're just not even sure, like, literally what happened. But anyways, let's wrap up the awards with favorite game, favorite moments, anything that's really stood out to you. Who do we want to start out with?
I'll go first. I'll go with the obvious winner here. First leg versus Real Madrid. Declan Rice, 2 free kicks. I mean, that's why you're a fan, right? That's why you love the game. That's why you love your team. For moments like that, we think about the Reece Nelson goal. Like that's been the one in the past few years. Now it's the Declan Rice goals. Like that's what we will remember for a long time. That game's gonna live with us for, I'll say, for basically forever, for as long as you're a fan. So that's my shout.
Stephen, I don't know if you can relate to this, but when you talked about just now the Declan Rice goal, I got chills on my back. But when you said Reece Nelson goal, all the hair on my head stood up. I got some good chills. I liked beating the Sinners. I liked beating Man City 5-1. And Odegaard scored that goal immediately. And then after the half, Haaland got them a goal back. And I think everybody thought, oh, shit. And then immediately Thomas scores a goal. We're up 2-1, and we just sail after that. We needed that win, even in a bad season for City. We needed that win at that time, and it was so nice to just cruise in that game.
It did feel really nice. I mean, putting 5 past them was really nice. Seeing Maslow Skelly do his talking on the pitch was really nice.
How much flack did he get for that, too?
I mean, it's what happens when you live rent free, Eric. I'm telling you, like our 18-year-old does a celebration and the world loses its mind. So that's the pedigree, okay?
Should we have gotten more confidence out of that?
More confidence. You know what? Yeah, probably. But also, it's one of those things where I feel like right as soon as we had that result, a couple of games after that, we ran into another stop sign. And then it was like, all right, we got to start from scratch again. So it's hard to get confidence when every other week one of your key players goes down.
With a hamstring.
Yeah.
Matt, you have a thing you love to say about how Arsene used to talk about confidence, where
right. You take the stairs up. You take the stairs up, and then you take the elevator down. So, it takes a long time to build up that confidence. You do take the stairs, and that elevator's pretty fast at times.
Yeah, I hear you. I absolutely hear you on it because, like, my favorite game was difficult to pick out in the league. I really liked the West Ham game, the one where we scored 4 goals in like 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. I think going into that game, again, confidence was kind of low. You weren't sure West Ham or sometimes they really show up against us. But that performance, I just really remember that game, the 4 goals that we scored early on. In the Champions League, my favorite game was against PSG. The first time that we played them, that 2-0 win, I did feel like that was our best performance, all-around performance for 90 minutes this season. And it came pretty early, like November. But then again, we just couldn't continue on that same performance level. So those were 2 that really stood out to me. And the Sporting game. I loved it when Big Gabby brought out the Batman. So those were some of my favorites.
Well, my favorite game, this is going to sound very strange, it was the 2-2 draw against City. And the reason that I loved that game is how we gutted out that, 50 plus minutes at that point? Or what was it, 60? I don't know how many extra time minutes they decided to add on so that they could score the extra goal. But I tell you, the way that our defense came together and played in that second half really gave me a lot of encouragement for the season ahead. Of course, I didn't realize all of the guys who were playing were going to get injured. So that was a challenge. But that was my favorite game. I was on the edge of my seat the entire time watching that. And of course, that's also where Ricky scored that unbelievable goal that took my breath away. So, yeah, that's my favorite.
I like it.
That was a fun one. That was super unorthodox type of game, right?
Yes.
The entire second half, it was, we're not going forward. We're just sitting on our banks. Come at us. Let's see what you got.
They score first. We get our 2 goals right back to back. And then Truss with his red card, whatever you want to call it, and then just survive. It was great. It was great to see it.
I've never seen Arsenal play a 6-3. That was a crazy game.
Yeah, trying times, man. Trying times. All right, well, we've already gone an hour on this beat, as is tradition on DGP, but it's a special season recap, so probably going to go another half hour or so, given some of the big talking points left on here. We got to start out with the manager, right? I think Mikel Arteta, the seat certainly has a fire lit under it, especially if you check the timeline. A lot of people are questioning what phases other managers are in. A lot of our own fans are overlooking our performances and some of the hardship that we had to go through. But is it just as simple as if he doesn't win a trophy next season, it's time to say goodbye?
For me, yes, absolutely. In fact, I'm of the mindset that if we're not in first place ahead of some of these other teams, it might be time for him to go. Like if we're in second place and we're 6 points behind at Christmas, do we need someone better? If he gets, and this is what Matt's going to say. It's contingent upon, and I don't want to steal your thunder, but it's contingent upon who we get, right? If we get a really good striker and Zubamendi comes through, and we get maybe Nico Williams or something, somebody on the left wing, then wouldn't Rodrigo be great? For me, would. Maybe not for someone else, but he has to win. He has to win. I don't care what trophy, but if it's not the EPL or the UCL at the end of the season, he has to go for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting that you bring up the point that it's important to keep in mind he could go as early as December or January of next season. I think I share that timeline with you. If the performances are just not there by that point, regardless of who we sign, I think back to, look, you finished second 3 seasons in a row, and whoever we sign this summer, the team is probably going to be better than it was those last 3 seasons. Every season, I feel like the team has been better than the season prior, the squad. So it is really coming into question. And the biggest thing is, what tactical changes will we see by December, by January? Like, I'll tell you right now, next season, forget the trophies, but if I don't see us taking risks, if I don't see us trying to change the game with early subs, if I keep seeing the same horseshoe, right, the same tactics, the set piece chatter, those are all things that have been consistent for the last 5 years. It goes beyond just one season with this manager.
So what makes you think that would change? Why do you think he would make any changes at all?
He's going to have to do a lot of meditating this summer and a lot of reflection. And hopefully there's different pressures internally. I feel like with the introduction of Berta, maybe some of the dynamics have shifted now. Maybe he doesn't feel as comfortable. And maybe the club are also reflecting and saying, hey, look at what happened to the women's team. So Mikel, like, changes could happen. You're not as safe as you might feel that you are. And there is managers out there too. And look, it's a difficult conversation, because if he leaves, will he end up at a different club in like 6 months' time? Yeah, fucking yes. Ten Hag got the Leverkusen job, right? So he'll be fine. And I'm sure he'll succeed. But from an Arsenal perspective, it just feels like we keep hitting the same wall over and over.
The chaos that we had, guys, 4 years ago, his second year, and we were scoring for fun. And then the year after that, the run in, we only lost 1 game to Aston Villa. That was a half season full of chaos, and we haven't had that kind of chaos. And so we need players who can just do, honestly, not what MLS does, but what Ricky does, and just as a left back pop up as a center forward, because it's what the game needs right now. And he did that a few games back when he played left back for the second half when he came in. He just popped up in the first 3 minutes as a center forward. If we don't have that kind of chaos next year, we're not gonna win, because this, what you're talking about is a horseshoe, I call an umbrella, but it's boring. It's boring Arsenal.
Yeah, it can be, for sure. So I'm like super intrigued to hear Matt's perspective as to like why he deserves to have more than 1 full season next season.
So from my perspective, this will be the first transfer window where we as a club are concentrating on the attack and finding those attacking players. We really haven't done that. You can't count Kai. You can't count Wooly. You can't count
Jesus.
Some of those guys. That Jesus is the only one that you can actually say, yes, he was an attempt. But there was no supporting that. There was no additional person brought in to help buffer that attack. So I think this summer, it has to be 2 guys up front that are going to help this attack. I don't know who those 2 guys should be. It's got to be 2, someone that can score, someone that can challenge Martinelli on the left wing. That's what I want to see. But I think that has to happen. You said something earlier about the January transfer window. Mikel was saying, I need something. And the club didn't support that. Regardless of whether they tried or not, we don't know what they were trying to do. They didn't. And I want to see the club support his vision, because this is the last step. He's brought the defensive solidity. He's brought the midfielders. Now it's time. It's time to do the attack. And let's go score 110 goals. That's what I want to see. I really want to see the fast break attack. So many times this year we get to about the 2/3 part of the field and we go, oh, wait a second, we're not supposed to do this. Let's turn back around and give it back to the goalie. No, guys, it's okay to do this every once in a while.
I think I'm with you, Matt. I think it's a year. I've said this analogy on our pod many times, so maybe for your listeners, I'm a basketball guy. I like the NBA. The Golden State Warriors had Mark Jackson as their head coach for a few years. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green were a part of that team. They couldn't win it, though. They were in the playoffs. They were a good team, really good team, but they couldn't win it. Steve Kerr becomes their head coach. They go to become a dynasty. Whatever he does, whatever he knows something different than Mark Jackson. Mark Jackson got him to the peak, but he couldn't get him to get over the top of it. That's kind of where I'm at. I think what Mikel has done incredible to get us where we are. If we change managers, do I expect us to drop out of the Champions? No, our team's solid. Our team's fantastic. We're one of the best in the world. I'll go ahead and say that. We are one of the best teams in the world right now. If he can't get it done next year, someone out there can get it done. I'm a believer in that. Someone else can. He's a rookie manager, as in he's only coached us for the 5 years. Maybe we need someone with more experience. Hey, here's what you guys have. I see it. I almost guarantee some other manager out there sees us playing and is like, I know what to do. This is what we need to do. X, Y, Z. Bada bing, bada boom. We're champions. We're in a final. We're winning a cup. I think it might be as simple as that.
I like what you said, KP, about Slagers. Mm-hmm. You know, and they came in and they got rid of Idaball because nothing was happening. All bad things were happening. Slagers comes in and Arsenal dominate for a long time. They had a couple of hiccups towards the end of the league season, but they won the Champions League. So, Matt, I mean, I know this is, and maybe Steven, I can't wait a whole season. We need to win a trophy next year. And if we're not on track to win a trophy, I feel bad because he's changed the culture at the club. Gotta go, because we need to win. This is a window that we have to win.
I got a question on that. Do you think a mid-season change would then, you really think that would make an impact? Like what would that gap have to be for a change to happen, and then us to go on and win it?
For me, I feel like, Steven, if we're not 6 points ahead around Christmas, if we're 6 points behind,
6 points back,
if we're already out of, we get into January and we're out of the Carabao, I'm not worried about it. But if we've already gone out in the fourth round of the FA Cup and where, we've got 2-3 losses and 3 draws, that's not enough, man.
I don't disagree with you guys. I think that's actually a decent shout for the mid-season thing. I think as a fan base, we have a lot of loyalty. We're a loyal fan base. We had Wenger for as long as we did. And looking back, I think we realized we probably held on too long. I think this could be the same type of situation. Mm-hmm. We're there. We're on the cusp. Are we going to grab it or not? And that's a big decision to make.
It's that window, man. And if we don't do it in that window, then players are going to be, this is not the club where I'm going to win stuff. We need to win stuff so that these guys, and we need to win multiple trophies. Here's the thing. I look at, Matt and I talked about this earlier, and I don't want to take up too much time, but we talked about this earlier. Liverpool had 9 years with, what's his name, German coach?
Mr. Klopp.
9 years with Jurgen Klopp. And they won a Champions League, they won 1 league, and they won 3 or 4 minor cups. So if we had Arteta for 9 years, we only have 4 years left to win a Champions League, a Premier League, and a couple of, FA or minor cups, whatever. Is that enough in 9 years? Because I feel like it's not enough. Like, we're better than that in this window.
Yeah, and I think my worry with Mikel is if we give him another full season, there's no trophies, then we'll probably give him another season. I think my my biggest issue goes back to your point, Steven, of how much we stuck by Arson. And now it's like, well, we've given Mikel 5 seasons. At this point, we're going to give him another 5 seasons. That's my worry, is that he ends up being our manager for 10 years. And now the window is totally gone, to your point, Eric, where like this person, when he took over the club and you look at the players, the really good players were ages sort of 19 to 23, right? And now we've entered the point where our core of our team is these like 22-year-old to 28-year-olds. And we have to get the trophies with them at this age demographic. Otherwise, it's absolutely is too late. And I wonder, because he coached these younger kids, that's where the issues come of, I'm going to turn around and we're going to recycle because it's what the manager has asked me. I either need some players who are going to question what the manager has asked them, or I need a manager that's going to give the players a little bit more freedom. And hopefully that's Mikel that does that to these players who like trust them more. But I do feel like we've gotten to the point where the players have been so molded by him now that they're just like stuck in these patterns and they're too afraid to put a foot wrong. And I do feel like a change at helm, whether it's mid-season or full season, could have a bigger mental effect on these players.
And you think that mental effect would then propel them to be a much better team, even though you're not changing much style-wise, you're not changing much regardless?
Yeah, I don't think they need to be that much of a better team, but it just allows them to hopefully get across the finish line, for someone to just try something newer with them, for them to not have to kind of live and die by these ideologies that they've been so embedded in their minds for the last 5 years.
For me, it comes down to one of these things too, guys, where how ruthless was Arteta in that first year? Ozil not fitting in, gone. Aubameyang not fitting in, gone. Right? Xhaka, not captain anymore, gone, right? We haven't seen that kind of managerial ruthlessness where somebody's gone X number of games without really being at their best and sticking a kid in. And I mean, not when he absolutely needed to, but getting somebody out and putting somebody else in because the primary starter isn't doing his job as well as he should be. And that kind of ruthlessness is what's going to make the team better. And that's one of the things that Wenger in his last 5 to 7 years didn't have. He kept sticking by the same guys over and over and over and let things go that were important. Non-negotiables, Arteta called them. And so these non-negotiables have to include, you sucked the last month. I gotta put this kid in to give you competition because there's nobody else to give you competition.
Yeah, no, I hear you on it, and I'm just kind of curious to. I mean, I've heard some of these talking points, but I'd love it if you could kind of make it more clear about if you have a particular like tactical beef with the manager. Like, obviously there's a lot of things that we like that Mikel has done, and we all feel that, okay, well, he didn't win a trophy, that's against him. But there's got to be some things that he does in general that you just think, I really don't like that about Mikel Arteta. If he's listening to this pod, this is the one thing that I want him to change about himself next season. What would that be?
Matt?
Well, I started to elaborate on this. The players will have the ball and they will be pushing forward, and then for some reason they stop. There's absolutely no reason for them to stop, except it's as if they're like those dogs with the collar that they kind of hit that electric fence and went, oh, I'm not supposed to be here anymore. The one player that doesn't necessarily do that is Maya Lewis-Skelly. He is someone that I think we can truly build on with this approach of breaking the mold, so to speak. But I would like to, that's the one thing I would think that needs to change. Let them be a little more creative. Let them use their natural talents and enhance those, and stop trying to create robots.
Yeah, I think that's why we found Calafiori to be so exciting. And I've heard Steven on the pod say in the past that, Miles Skelly is really exciting to watch this season because he hasn't had the talent coached out of him. That's how it's felt a lot of time with this coaching staff.
That's the Jack Grealish scenario, right? He came in and he was all kinds of chaos on that left wing. And the next season, because it takes time to learn that Juego system, the next season they broke him like an animal to just do the things they want. And what's really screwed up about it is they replaced him with Jeremy Doku, who's all kinds of chaos on purpose. They want him to be that chaos, and you coached all that chaos out of Jack only to go by Jeremy. And that's the thing, is like all of the chaos that these players that we have used to have, to your point, exactly perfect analysis, they coached it out, and they got to let them just be free. And there's a somewhere in the middle of Wenger saying we need all these little number 10s running around the pitch and just be creative, because all that creativity will work. And then and Arteta played in that system, by the way. And then this lockdown, you have to do your job. If you're Martinelli and Saka and you don't have white paint on your boots, you're doing it wrong. They got to be able to come inside. And when I think about the way that Odegaard and the underlaps and overlaps that Ben White used to do with Saka, and Odegaard and Saka switching positions, and all three of them doing whatever they needed to do to score goals. And then on the left side, we would have Martinelli and Jesus and whoever the left Xhaka it was that season. They created so much chaos between 3 on the left and 3 on the right because he didn't control it. That's what I want to see. I want to see that change.
It's a good shout. Conservative Arsenal. Boring Arsenal. You said that earlier. I mean, that's what it is. It is boring Arsenal. My tactical beef with them, even though I think you guys are spot on, is the man management that he does. I think he has his favorites. Let's pick a player like Odegaard. You said he was an underachiever of the season. He was going to play him through it. No matter what, I'm going to play you through this. I don't care that you're in a slump. I'm going to keep playing you. Brought up Zinchenko. Could Zinchenko have given us some minutes? I think so. I don't like the way he goes about things. I think it also goes with his system. He's just very regimented. It's something that we have to deal with as a fan base right now.
Definitely, dude. Definitely. I think those are all spot on. I share those sentiments, and I personally really struggle with his substitutions. I don't know if you guys share that sentiment. I think a lot of times our subs are reactionary. I almost always see the other team make changes before we make changes, which is like super weird to me. Even if we're on the front foot, right? We don't even try to change the game up a little bit. So I think rotation and substitutions, he's got to get it right, man. And if one of the reasons that you keep playing Odegaard is because he's the captain, then that's a problem. We have to be able to sub a player. And if we want to have a 90-minute captain, then, I don't know, make it the goalkeeper, make it the center back, someone that allows you to at least sub your creative player when after 70 minutes, it's obvious there's not going to be much creativity for the rest of this 20. But anyways, I say all that to also bring up the point that, I don't know if you guys saw or not, Thierry Henry has been chatting some shit online. He's been added. He joined the Overlap podcast and was really talking about sort of Manchester United, worst Manchester United in 5 years, but they've got like 5 trophies or 5 finals at least. We're not even making finals. He was making some strong points against Arteta, the manager, the club. Obviously, club legend coming from him. So I'm just curious. Maybe I'll start out with you, Steven, the guy who turned you onto the club. How do you feel about his chatter?
I think he's spot on. It's those hard truths. Talk about us being a loyal fan base. Sometimes someone like Thierry Henry needs to get in your face and say that. It's a hard truth to hear, but from what we've been discussing today, I think we all kind of feel that way. You got to have the results, and if the results aren't there, it doesn't matter how good your team is. What are you going to remember about this era of Mikel Arteta? That we couldn't get it done, and that's kind of a sad. I think that's a sad place to be right now.
You're gonna remember the XG, Steven. That's what was on my timeline after PSG won the Champions League Saturday. All I saw on my timeline was how the Arsenal team pushed the XG against this PSG team, and it's weird that that's where our fan base's head is at.
XG monsters.
Well, okay, so what do you guys consider trophies? Do you really consider Carabao Cup and FA Cup things that we should be putting our best players out there to pursue and get? Or are you more interested? Because look, I am way more interested in winning the Premier League and winning the Champions League. I've seen the other two. I don't need to see them again. I am way more interested in getting the big prizes.
I think that's a super fair question, especially as you look ahead to next season. What trophy would I be satisfied with to say, keep this manager, right? I don't know if the Carabao Cup would scratch that itch. I think the FA Cup, I like the FA Cup. I think Arsenal have won it the most out of all the other English clubs, so I also like to kind of keep that trend going. I think that's nice for us. So if the FA Cup is the only trophy that we win next season, I actually think I'm fine giving him another season after that. I would be okay with it.
I gotta say, getting to the semifinal of the Carabao Cup this year and then getting absolutely battered by Newcastle, that didn't leave a good taste in my mouth. Like, even though it's just the Carabao Cup, when we got battered in those semifinals. So, like, does any cup warrant him to stay? No. Like, obviously that's I'll call it the toilet cup of all the ones available, but it does mean something, right? Getting to a final means something. We're good enough to do it. We haven't done it, haven't seen it.
Stephen, those were two games where we got battered and deep fried.
I don't even think we won the XG battle in those. I don't know if we did.
That's our bogey team. It was such a big win to beat them at the end of the season because we talked about Newcastle as our bogey team for a while. That was bad to lose that one. So
yeah.
We have to win one of the big two for me. If Arteta can't win one of the big two, pending who we get, there's the whole transfer conversation. But if we get Zubamendi and maybe we get, Gyökeres, and God, we've got the money to get both of those guys and a Nico Williams if he'll come, or somebody else on the left wing to really push Martinelli or just take the spot from Martinelli. We've got the money to do that this year. If we do all those things and we don't win one of the big two, I'm not waiting.
Big summer. It's a big, big summer.
Get the business done early then, so they have enough time to bed in, and because this is the summer to do it, with no major. Do you call the FIFA World Cup club thing a major tournament? I know it's here, but I'm not going to watch it.
Yeah, I think it's the first one, right? It's supposed to be? It's like inaugural launch. So we'll see. I'm interested in seeing sort of the results, or like what teams what players teams put out there is interesting. I think with the injuries that we had this season, if Arsenal were in this tournament, I would be so upset.
I would be too.
So, all right, man. Well, before we wrap up the manager talk, we just have maybe two more big talking points to finish out the season recap. I think it's also important to chat about the set piece coach, almost in line with the manager chat. I think people are too quick to look at the head of the snake and say, that's it, we need to get rid of Mikel Arteta. But me personally, I feel like we need a change in the set piece coach position. I feel like he has been given too much authority with his involvements with the team. I don't necessarily have an issue with him standing up and getting the camera time, but I do have an issue with him making the call of us playing a back post free kick when we can just fucking shoot it.
I'm right there with you. I would go so far as to say we need a second set piece coach for the defensive side of things. As opposed to, it seems like he's focused only on one side of it. And Steven, you mentioned the Rice goal against Madrid earlier. Well, yeah, that's the player took it upon himself with encouragement from Saka to take that shot. And that was one of the most thrilling moments of the season. So I would agree with you. I think we need to reconsider this set piece coach.
I would rather see us dump him completely and bring somebody in. We had more chances than anybody else, and we scored more goals or equal number of goals as other teams in the Prem, but we concede way too many goals, and we gave up the fewest goals in the Prem again for the third season in a row, but you don't sing songs about that. But we could have conceded even less, one of them being that set-piece goal off a corner kick, I think, or set-piece, whatever it was, against Southampton. We should not be conceding that goal. That's set-piece practice. We didn't used to give those goals up, and we're scoring some goals, but I would rather see him out and somebody who can teach these guys how to play defense, because if we don't give those goals up, who knows what happens.
Time to be ruthless.
Ruthless.
Right? Time to be ruthless. I don't even know if he even warrants a discussion. I love how they pan to the camera to him on every set piece. He's just standing there. Like, I'm over it.
For me, it's Carlos Cuesta that is the beating heart underneath the brain of Mikel Arteta. And when you draw the picture of the brain and the heart a few seasons ago during that show, and he was talking about how the crowd and all of that with that drawing, but Carlos Cuesta cannot leave this summer because he's the one who is the player manager to me. And so I don't really care about Jover. I want to see Carlos Cuesta more prevalent standing in that coach's box working with players, because he gets inside their head and makes them know that you're good and you can do this thing.
Yeah, that's a really good shout. I just feel like in general the coaching team could use a little bit of a shuffle. I think Carlos definitely would want to see him stay, but I still have no idea what AirPods does. I just see him on a lot of camera shots. But, aside from AirPods and the set piece coach, I mean, one of the biggest things I struggle with, I just feel like Mikel might be surrounded by a lot of yes men, and I want to see him be questioned a little bit. And I don't know, no manager himself is going to go out there and build a internal staff that's going to be saying a lot of no's to him. But maybe that's where the new executive team at the top comes in and just gets a new coach in and says, hey, you need to work with this person.
Do you remember that coach that left? What's his name? Steve Rounds? Do I have that right?
Maybe, I think so.
It was the older gentleman. He was a little bit older. He had gray hair. He was on the squad, and it was right when Mikel started. And then he left one summer and just said, hey, I feel like my journey here is over. And he stepped down. And it was one of the only older folks. You have AirPods. But it was one of the only older folks on the coaching staff. And when you're saying that, who's going to challenge him? He's someone that I think potentially was challenging him at the time. So I think that's an interesting point to make.
First question is AirPods Stuyvenberg?
Yes.
Yeah, Albert.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to make sure. Second thing is, he came from the Pep Guardiola tree, and Guardiola just got rid of two of his senior managers, staff. Going to bring in new senior staff to do exactly that, to challenge him, because they were yes men, and he's specifically looking for that, I've read. So I'm 100% on board that some of these guys should go. I don't know if AirPods is the guy to go or not, but I do think that changing some things up is going to be required to get this to the next level. And I think part of the conversation we had about going to the next level was about Edu and whether or not he could take us to the next level. So I know we're going to talk about that.
Yeah, let's do that now. Obviously, our last talking point for the season recap is to start looking ahead to the next season. We've already mentioned it's a big summer, and we had the announcement sort of in December, November that Edu was leaving the club. It came as a bit of a shock. I wasn't expecting that. Were you guys at all?
No,
Not
that
at
was
all.
completely out of the blue, and did cause a bit of ripples, because what were you going to do in January? Because it was announced so late and such a weird time.
It was, yeah. And then that was the first time I was introduced to Jason Ato. I can't say that I had heard a lot about him before that moment. And A couple of months went by, and Arsenal announced Andrea Berta has taken the helm as the sort of sporting director. Italian businessman. It seems like he's definitely got the quarterback face, so like we're pretty excited by that. I think he's a really exciting new addition, and I'm looking forward to what he's going to get done this season. What about you all?
Matt and I did a number of episodes on this, and I had a list that I came up with 14 different candidates for this, and some of them included very unlikely candidates like Purr and Rosicki and some other minor characters that might have had an opportunity, but Berta did not make the list. That's how far off. Did he make the list? I don't think he even made the list.
No, he was not on the
we
original
had 14
list.
I had 14 candidates, and the PSG guy was the guy that I wanted, and Matt, I think he was the guy you wanted as well. So this was a big surprise, but when we looked at the candidates, we were looking for somebody who took a team from where they were to winner. So they were 2 or 3 or 4 to winner. And he did this, and he did it against Barcelona and Real Madrid. So we're doing it against big money teams too, because we're not the big money team. We're doing it against teams with a lot of talent. Man United's supposed to have a lot of money. City has a lot of money. Liverpool has a lot of talent. And this guy's got to be the one to get us from 3 to 2 to 1. And if it means Arteta's got to go because he's in charge, to your point, you didn't say it that way, but Arteta having too much power, maybe Andrea Berta takes that power back into his role and puts Arteta in a spot that you have to perform or you're going to go. And so he is 100% an upgrade for me.
Yeah, and KP, you talked about this earlier. Sales. I think Berta is going to really improve our selling of players and getting some of the folks off the books, so to speak, but get them off the books for really good prices. I think he's going to be able to do that and then be able to reinvest that money. He's shown that time and time again. And I'm really excited about this. I didn't think it wasn't even on the radar back in November or December. And then to have the opportunity to have this guy come in who's really helped set Atleti up for those championships and the competitions in the Champions League. So really excited about this edition and to see what this summer, because this is huge summer. Yeah. From contracts to players to all things. Huge.
I think from KP and myself, other than the quarterback face, I think having an outsider was most important. Once we got an outsider, that's what we were looking for. We were not excited about Ato. We weren't excited about that. Didn't feel like it was going to be the upgrade we're looking for. The outsider, he's coming in. He's done it. He has the track record, and he's signed attackers. That's his track record, is signing attackers. So that's what we're all for it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm watching his performance this summer to learn more about sort of how he will handle the contract extensions. I think that's almost more important than the signings. We all expect us to sign an attacker. It feels like we're going to sign an attacker, right? I did mention he's an Italian businessman, and I do think Fabrizio is Italian, and we know about the Italian media and the leaks that are involved, and I've already kind of seen Berta flex those muscles. I think I've seen more leaks come out about Arsenal's potential signings from big reporters. I mean, the season ended and Fabrizio said Zubimendi's done. I've never seen Arsenal move that fast. So
we were supposed to have him last summer.
Sure.
And it didn't happen. And so I think that his signature's been on a piece of paper just waiting for the ink to show, the invisible ink to show.
Change
for a
the
year.
date.
Hey, so before we wrap up, obviously we're all excited about Berta, but how did you all rate Edu's tenure? Obviously he came on board kind of during the same time as Mikel. He's had a huge impact over the last 5 years, but I do feel like the fan base has been a little bit divided on what he has delivered for the club with some of his signings. So I'm just curious what you would grade, let's say, his tenure on a sort of typical A, B, C, D.
Oh, I'd give him a B plus. He got us from where when he took over, we were 8th at that point, and he brought in the talent. Now, we paid for it as well, and he was able to elevate us to 2nd. Now, I think that's probably where the height of his abilities. I don't think he's demonstrated or shown that he can get us to that quality of talent to get to 1st. So I think he got us. He did as good a job as he could. Wish him well at this new whatever conglomerate he's going to have to deal with on the other side. But good luck to him. Thank you. That's all I'd say to him.
I share that.
I think that's fair. B plus. Sells weren't great. I don't think you were ever very good at selling, to be honest. But got us to where we are. I mean, I obviously like his... I think he was very charismatic person in the club. He was like a nice face to have. Obviously someone that came up in Arsenal, so you know about him. I think it's just... Hopefully it was a mutual decision to move in different directions. Got us the Declan Rice signing, which was huge. Mm-hmm. One thing that I do always wonder about is there's always discussions of like Mikel Arteta talked to the player and got them on board with the project. So like, Edu, where are you involved in that? Seems like Mikel Arteta is very influential in getting signings to want to come to the club. So hopefully with Berta, maybe he has his own influence to add in there.
The project is mostly the club, but the project changes from one manager to the other. So the manager always has to be the one to sort of probably make the final pitch. For me, it's a B. I don't even think it's a B plus over the course of his time. I feel like he relied a lot on Brazilian connections, and I don't think that we're necessarily going to see that with Berta, because he's got connections in Italy, he's got connections in Spain, he's got connections in really around Europe. And I think we're going to see more of his connections from his long time of doing this with Atletico that are going to really benefit in ways that we were never going to get from Edu, because he relied on Arsenal connections and connections with a small set of agents.
Definitely. No, I think those are all really, really fair perspectives on his tenure. I appreciate it. Most of the things that he got done for us, I don't know. One of my biggest issues with Jason Ato becoming permanent was that as the number 2, he should have said something about Neto being cup tied. He should have said something about that. So the fact that he let his number 1 go into the fire without having that discussion, he was just never on the picking plate for me. Well, listen, this has been super fun. We've really enjoyed having a season recap collaboration with you all. Usually during the summer transfer windows, when it's downtime, we like to close out podcasts with a game of Mystery Man. It's where each person brings on a player and they try to give 3 hints for others to kind of guess who that mystery player is. So are you guys up for having a quick game?
100%.
All right. Who wants to go first? I suppose.
I'll do it. I'll give my player. All right. I scored 73 goals for the Arsenal during my time as a striker. I am a World Cup winner.
Can I guess?
Go for it.
Are you Giroud?
I am Giroud.
I thought he scored 100.
Wow, just 78.
73 Premier League goals. Just Premier League goals.
Okay.
My
That's
last option was
that's a great pick. Nice.
all 11 good-looking
nice
squad for the Arsenal.
I got one. I finally got one. This was my game, and I never win. You have no idea. All right. Well, since I'll go next, Steven. That was a fun one. For me, let's see. I'll start out with what this player has won as an Arsenal player to maybe clear up some of his timeline that he played for us. This player has won the Premier League with Arsenal 2001, 2002, and 2003, 2004. He has also won the FA Cup 3 times and the Community Shield once. He is from Brazil, and before, in addition to playing for Arsenal, he's played for Valencia as well as the Corinthians. Do you have a guess?
Is it Edu?
It is Edu Gaspar.
Yes.
That's good. Yeah, it's the end of the season, so I wanted to give him something to walk away with.
Nice. Mine's tough, but there's one or two things in here that make this guy very unique, and hopefully you guys are gonna get this one. So, on my way to winning the Golden Boot with 23 goals in 36 games, I scored the first goal at Anfield in May 1989, helping Arsenal win the league in a game where we needed to win by, quote, 2 clear goals, unquote.
Oh, man.
After a terrible 1990 season, I bounced back to win my second Golden Boot with 22 goals, leading Arsenal to a second title in 3 years in the, quote, near-invincible season of 1991, where our only loss was 2-1 at Stamford Bridge, where, by the way, I scored the goal.
I'll give it a shot. Is it Ian Wright?
It's close. And this one's gonna maybe help out. I started the game because Ian Wright was suspended and scored the game winner in Arsenal's only European championship, the 1994 Cup Winners' Cup, against Parma.
Man.
So you're in the right era.
I was leading Ian Wright as well. A lot of clutch goals from this player. It makes me want to say Canoe.
No. This guy is, and to be fair, this guy's little known, but when you really look at what I just talked about, two Golden Boots, 2 championships, scored the goal in the Cup Winners' Cup.
Matt, you got to save us from your co-host.
Well, there's no way I'm going to get this. Is it because I'm horrible with names, guys? So this is not something I'm going to be very good at. Did this player score the second goal against Liverpool in that famous Anfield
He scored
game?
the first goal.
He scored the first.
Right.
Oh, there's no way I'm going to get that.
It's Alan Smith.
Oh my days. He's got us. He's stumped us.
I mean, this is a guy that we all should really know. I had to look it up. I didn't know about this guy because in that era, it's all Ian Wright. He was the Golden Boot winner 2 years. As his career wound down, Ian Wright's career kind of wound up. But I mean, when I talk about the historic goals and 2 Golden Boots and 2 titles, we should know more about this guy. I felt bad that we didn't, so now all of our listeners do.
No, that's good.
The Golden Boots, 2 Golden Boots. I mean, that's huge. All I could think of was Ian Wright from that era.
Same.
Alan Smith.
Same.
I gotta hit the highlights. I gotta hit the YouTube.
All right, so here's my player. He was born in London to Jamaican parents. Okay. This player was part of the Invincibles. And this one's going to probably give it away. So I played for Tottenham for 9 years, and I debuted in 92 against Chelsea.
Steven, you want to pick that one up?
So big man.
I love my defenders. So
Jamaican.
there you go.
Okay.
That's cool. That's
a good
cool. That
one.
was fun. That was a lot of fun, guys. Thanks for playing along with our little game. Thanks for being on the pod and sharing your Sunday morning with us. This was a lot of fun. We appreciated it. Big shout out to everyone who continues to listen. Make sure you're subscribed, as we'll have some summertime podcasts coming out, and we're all really, really looking forward to these signings walking in. Anything from others before we wrap up?
Well, thank you for joining Stateside Gooners. I've been listening to your pod for a while this season. I kind of picked you guys up a little bit earlier this season, and Matt and I have been talking about how fun you guys are. So it's I'm happy to do this collaboration with you guys, and if we think this has gone well, and I do, then maybe we'll get a chance to do something else, down the road. But this was good. I really enjoyed it, and I liked the game at the end. So maybe next time we can bring a game.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely a fun game. And this was a pleasure. So thanks for spending your Sunday morning here.
All right. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Eric. Thanks, Stateside Gooners. We'll catch you on the next one. Be easy.
Thanks, guys.